But the question is why it puts in the phrase, preposition again, to. You have not come to, you have not come to, that it didn't have to say. It could have, if it was just describing the same place, it could have just put it in without the preposition again. So the Gemara says kasha, we don't have any answer. If we say that both menucha, we're describing the words in this week's parsha, the words of the verse, resting and inheritance. According to the opinion that says both of them are referring to Shiloh, what does it mean menucha, that it's resting? The nacham mikivash. What are we resting from? Well, we're resting from conquering the land. Nachla, why is it called inheritance? The palgo hasam nachles. The ksiv, vayichalak lam Yeshua, vayapalam garil b'shilai al pi Hashem. Where was the divisions of the land, the distribution of the land? Where did that take place? It took place in Shiloh. So that's why it's called, Yeshua did lotteries and they divided up the land. That's why it's called nachla, inheritance. You have not come yet to your inheritance because that's where everyone got their inheritance. But according to the opinion that says both of these terms are referring to Yerushalayim, Bishleim and Nachla, I understand why it's called Nachla. Nachla Elamis, it's inheritance forever. Elamenucha, my menucha, but when it says that it's the resting place, what does it mean it's resting? It says Menuchas Aron. It's referring to the resting of the Aron. The Ksiva Yikanayach Aron, as the verse says, when the ark rested. Rashi says, I searched and I have not found where this verse is, but he has another verse that's similar to it. Okay. According to the opinion that says both Menucha and Nachla is Yerushalayim, is Jerusalem. Abal Shiloh Hudashariya Bamis. But in Shiloh you're allowed to use Bamis. This was the opinion of Reb Shimon. Remember when we were learning this, we were wondering, how did Shimshon bring a sacrifice? According to Reb Shimon, we understand how he brought a sacrifice. It was during the time of Shiloh. And Reb Shimon holds that until they came to Yerushalayim, you're allowed to bring sacrifice on private altars. It's no problem. Shimshon, when his father, not Shimshon, Manoach, his father, saw the angel, they brought a sacrifice. It wasn't in the temple, it seems to be like in their backyard. Okay. Elamanda, Merzuvazu Shiloh, but according to the opinion that says that once they were in Shiloh, they were not allowed to bring private sacrifices. So how did Manoach bring a sacrifice? And private altars were forbidden. What does it mean Manoach took? That means he took the goat and he brought it as a sacrifice. The Gemara answers, this was a temporary dispensation that the angel gave to Manoach that he was allowed to bring a sacrifice. It was taught in the house of Rabbi Shmuel, like Rabbi Shimon ben Yochai, that it was forbidden in Shiloh already. The Amar Zuvazu Yerushalayim. No, not that it was forbidden in Shiloh. That it was forbidden in Jerusalem forever. Because they said this and this is Jerusalem. So even Rabbi Shmuel, that said that it was talking about Shiloh, afterwards we find that his students were not teaching that. His students were teaching that it was, like Rabbi Shimon ben Yochai, that it was forbidden in Jerusalem forever. And if you want to remember this, the Simanach Mashchi Gavra Legavri. Rabbi Shimon ben Yochai was an individual, pulled the public to his opinion. He swayed the public to his opinion. Mashchi, he pulled. Gavrei is plural and Gavra is singular. So Rabbi Shimon ben Yochai swayed the plural to his. That is the opinion of Rashi. And Tosfos learns it, not here, but earlier. He learns that Mashchi Gavrei LeGavra, he has a different text. He says that Reb Shimon Bar Yochai, you have two names there. He swayed, the two names swayed the one name, which is Rabbi Shmuel, which is, it doesn't tell us who his father is. I think we know who it is, but at least it's not listed. Okay. Kol HaKodshim, all sacrifices. What do we say about all the sacrifices? That during the time, that if they were sanctified at a time when it was permissible to bring on a private altar, however, by the time the person brought them, it was already forbidden to bring on a private altar because the temple was built or because Shiloh was built. So, and the person did not bring it to the public altar. He wasn't used to this new law. He brought it on a private altar. So it says that he violated a positive command. He neglected a positive command. He violated a negative command. However, he doesn't get kares because it was sanctified at a time that it was permissible. Amarav kana leishanu ela b'shchita. This din, that there's no kares, that's only if he slaughtered it. Aval b'halah, but if he brings it up and he burns it on the altar, then there's kares. Kares nami mechayev. He's going to get kares. This is the opinion of Rav Kahana, that he's qualifying what the Mishnah says, that it's only referring to shchita. My timer, what's his reason? Damakrav aleim taimar. Because it says when it comes to offering up the sacrifice, it says, regarding them you should say, ala mesubin taimar. Not ala smuchim taimar. On what it says, on what it says next to it, that's what you should say, that you're not allowed to bring it up. And what does it say? In other words, once it was slaughtered, you're not allowed to bring it up. So what that means is that only there's two paragraphs in the Torah about bringing offerings on private altars. The first one is discussing the slaughtering. The second one is discussing offering it up on a private altar. So we're saying that the slaughtering of it doesn't get the kares, doesn't incur kares if it was sanctified at a time when it was permissible to bring it on a private altar. However, the offering it up is referring back to the first one, that regardless of when it was sacrificed, you're never allowed to bring it up on the private altar. So it's only the first one that has that dispensation. Because the second one is referring back to the first one that says you're not allowed to bring it up if it was slaughtered not properly, which it was slaughtered not properly. So if it was slaughtered at the wrong time, then you're not allowed to offer it up on the private altar. It doesn't say when it was sanctified. You have no dispensation for bringing it up. Now the problem is, Maskif lo Rabba miksiv aleim taimar. Does the second paragraph say regarding them, the animals? It doesn't say that. It doesn't say with the ayin, aleihem, which is regarding them. Aleihem ksiv, it means to them, to the Jewish people. It's with an aleph. Aleihem means to, not regarding, not on. On is with an ayin. V'oi, Tanya was also taught in a brayso, ba'klolis, hayur Reb Shimon Aimer, b'kadshim. Reb Shimon had 4 rules with kachim, very simple rules. It's Ekdeishim b'shas iser bames, v'shachat v'hela b'shas iser bames, b'chutz, v'riyem b'aseh v'leisiv yesh b'em kares. First one is sanctified at the time that it was prohibited to bring on a private altar. Slaughtered and brought up at a time that it was prohibited, there's kares. Ekdeishim b'shas heter bames, v'shachat v'hela b'shas iser bames. Sanctified at a time that it was permissible, but it was brought at a time that it was prohibited. There's a positive command that he neglected. There's a negative command that he violated, but there's no kares. Third case, if he sanctified it at a time that it was prohibited to bring it on a private altar, but by the time he brought it, it was permissible, because he sanctified it in Shiloh. The time he brought it, Shiloh was destroyed already. It was permissible. So harehem ba'aseh. So he neglected a positive command to bring it in the appropriate place. That was neglect. However, ein behem leisaseh. But there is no negative command, because he was allowed to bring it at that time in a private altar. The fourth case is ekdeishim b'shas heter bamis. The fourth case is not necessary to say, but it just concludes all the possibilities. If he sanctified it at a time that it was permissible and he brought it at a time that it was permissible, he's exempt from all violations and punishments. Problem here is that we said that if it was sanctified at a time that it was permitted, but it was brought at a time that it was prohibited, we use two terms. We use the term it was slaughtered and brought, and brought up. Those two terms tell me that the same law applies, that there is no chorus for either of them. You used both terms. It's a question on Rav Kahana. Rav Kahana said that the exemption that the Mishnah gives you is only for shechita, but not for offering the sacrifice up. We just quoted a brisa from Reb Shimon that says that the exemption applies to both sacrificing and offering it up from chorus, if it was sanctified at a time that it was acceptable to bring outside. Tiyufta, the Rav Kahana Tiyufta, the Gemara says, is it a question on Rav Kahana? The Gemara responds, Tiyufta, yes, it's a question on Rav Kahana. Yevelu Kadshim, these are the sacrifices. This is referring to what's the difference between a private altar and a public altar, and it has all these different halachas that you do, what you do on a private altar, what you do on a public altar. And this is this easy Gemara, just brings a bunch of psukim. Smicha, how do you know that you only lean on the animal on a public altar? The Ksiv L'fnei Hashem, it says he leans on the animal in front of God. V'samach, in front of God he leans. Shchita b'tzafin, how do you know it needs to be slaughtered on the north? The Ksiv Tzvaino L'fnei Hashem, it says on the north in front of God. It means only on public altars is in front of God. Matanis, Matanis Saviv, how do you know they have to put on this corner and on that corner, or on the four corners, or on the two caddy corners? The Ksiv V'zarak Al HaMizbeach, it says you should put it on the altar. A private altar is not called a Mizbeach. Saviv, all around. Tenufa, how do you know that you do the waving on the public altars? The Ksiv V'hinef HaKayin L'fnei Hashem, the Kayin shall wave it in front of Hashem. That's only in a public altar. And Hagasha, how do you know they are supposed to bring it close to the altar? The Ksiv V'yigish al Mizbeach says you bring it close to the altar. Altar means a public altar, not a private altar. So we have verses that tell us why there's a difference, or that prove that there are differences between public altars and private altars. Rabbi Yehuda ein mincha b'bama. Rabbi Yehuda says he can't bring a kabed mincha on a bama. He can't bring a meal offering on a private altar. Amar Rav Sheshes. Rav Sheshes says l'divrei Omer yesh mincha b'bama. According to the opinion that says there is meal offerings on a private altar, yesh oifes b'bama. You could also bring birds on a bama. L'divrei Omer ein mincha b'bama, ein oifes b'bama. It goes hand in hand. If you can't bring a meal offering, you can't bring a bird. If you can bring a meal offering, you can bring a bird. Different opinion. Zevachim v'lei menachos, Zevachim v'lei oifos. Because it's talking about, it uses the term zevach. Zevach means a sacrifice. The question is mincha called sacrifice? Is a meal offering called a sacrifice? It's called zevach. And is a bird called a zevach? That's the machlokes. Kohen, how do you know that you need to use a kohen in the only on the public altars, but not on private altars? Anyone can do it. It says the Ksiv V'zarak HaKohen, this kohen will sprinkle the blood. That tells me, because it says he'll sprinkle the blood on the altar of Hashem at the entrance. It tells me that it's only on the public altars, not on private altars. Big Day Sharis, how do you know you need to wear special clothing? L'sharis b'kodesh. To serve in the holies, that's referring to the Mishkan, not private altars. Kli Sharis, how do you know you need these holy vessels? That you will serve with them in the holies. All these quoting verses that prove that public altars have all of these restrictions and private altars do not. Reach nichayach, how do you know it needs to be the first time that you're barbecuing roasting this meat? It can't be that you're reheating it or re-burning it. That's only on public altars, but on private altars you would be allowed to reheat it, re-burn it, if it was roasted already, off the altar, and then you want to put it on the altar afterwards. Mechitza b'damim, how do you know that there's an upper part to the altar and a lower part to the altar, and the different sacrifices have different locations for it? It says the net will be up to half the mizbeach. Mizbeach means public altars. Richutz yadayim, how do you know you have to wash your hands? This is only that they wash their hands when they come to the mizbeach, public altars. Amar Rami Bar Chama. Rami Bar Chama says, Lishanu ala b'kachibama kitana. stop here. We'll stop here. Tomorrow we have the Ahmad is a little short. The Daf is short. We'll stop here. Okay. Any word from Yitzi?